The past few months have seen an explosion in the popularity of artificial intelligence apps on the internet. Apps like Dolly, ChatGPT, and others are being used by people to create original content in seconds that in many cases rivals what the best human creators are capable of producing. Naturally, as happens when any new technology takes off, people have become concerned that artificial intelligence will make them obsolete. In particular, there's been a lot of controversy in artist communities regarding whether art created with AI can be legitimately entered into art contests. And of course, there's been a little bit of frustration from writers and advertising people who think that ChatGPT will replace what they do. If you're interested in the topic of artificial intelligence and whether or not it will replace human content creators, I highly suggest you check out a video by MKBHD, a tech reviewer, which I've linked in the description below. In his video, MKBHD shares his opinion on whether AI will replace human creators, and he comes down on the side of AI being more an aid to creators rather than something that competes with them directly. And as a content creator myself, I'm inclined to agree with him. Artificial intelligence can certainly replace the basic drafting of content that human beings do, but you still need a human being to come up with ideas for content in the first place, so it doesn't seem to me that content creators are going to be replaced by AI overnight. However, as an investor, there's another question that I find very interesting, which is whether AI could replace Google search. Google is the most heavily weighted stock in my personal portfolio, and a lot of people are saying that Google search is under threat from artificial intelligence. How this narrative got started was that on Twitter, shortly after ChatGPT launched, people started asking ChatGPT the kinds of things they would ask Google. For example, programmers asked it programming questions, people asked it for basic information queries, and other things. For the most part, ChatGPT provided very interesting answers, and in many cases they were accurate too. But what got some people really excited was the fact that ChatGPT in some cases appeared to be providing better answers than Google search did. For example, one user pointed out that when asked a programming question, ChatGPT produced a working program right out of the gate without any need for searching through links. It certainly looks like ChatGPT can provide better answers than Google search for some things, but will it ever be able to fully replace it? That's another question. Initially, my reaction was that no, ChatGPT will not replace Google search because there's just so many things Google search can do that ChatGPT can't. For example, Google search integrates with Google Maps, so when you look for directions, you can get a Google map directly in Google search. And in fact, that's become standard in searches for direction in Google search. Second, ChatGPT's training data ends in 2021, so ChatGPT can't answer any questions related to current events or products that have launched in the last year or so. So it's not a clear and pressing danger for Google search right now. However, this topic entered my mind once more when I did a Google search and got a really, really lousy result. What I did was I searched for average US bank stock PE ratio. If you're not into investing, a PE ratio is the ratio of a stock's price to the earnings of the underlying business on a per share basis. And instead of getting the average US bank stock PE ratio, I got the PE ratio for the stock US Bancorp. Not only once, but several of Google's top results were that metric for US Bancorp, which is one individual bank, rather than the average for US banks as a whole. And in fact, the entire first page of Google search results did not answer my question. I found this very interesting because I'd been toying around with ChatGPT a little bit prior to this, and it seemed to me that ChatGPT probably would have given an accurate answer to that question based on the experiences that I had had with it. So, shortly after doing that search, I made a screenshot of the results and took to Twitter saying that I did not think ChatGPT would screw this query up. However, when I made that Twitter post, I never actually did do the test with ChatGPT, so I couldn't be 100% sure. Obviously, Google's own management thinks that ChatGPT is a threat because they declared a code red shortly after it launched, saying that it put their search product, which is 57% of their revenue, in jeopardy. Now, I'm not 100% sure that ChatGPT is ever going to completely replace Google search, and in fact, I don't think it will. But it is interesting that it produces better answers to certain kinds of questions. So I thought back recently to that Twitter post I made about this search I did in Google for US bank stock PE ratios and how Google search completely bungled it. Would ChatGPT produce a better answer? I decided to give ChatGPT another look to see if it would. In addition, I decided to come up with 5 other search queries and see how Google search handled them compared to ChatGPT. In the next section of this video, I'll show you exactly how that experiment went. So, as you can see, I'm here with my list of questions. The first is the one that got me started on this whole line of inquiry, which is, what is the average US bank stock PE ratio? The second is a similar one, what is the average height of a US male? The third is, what is the #1 rock song in 1962? The fourth is, who is the best lawyer in New York City? And the fifth is, which iPhone model has Dynamic Island? Now, I've chosen these queries for specific reasons. Basically, I took the first 2 to be evergreen content, evergreen topics that any good search should be able to find the answer to. Now, I know that Google's answer to that question was A, not correct, and B, did not interpret my query correctly. However, I didn't actually do the test with ChatGPT, and I'm going to be doing that now. The second, what is the average height of a US male? It's simply a related question. I felt like I needed to include this one because that first one, because I ran that test in Google before even trying any of this, I figured it might not be a fair test, so I just threw in another similar one. The third, what is the #1 rock song in 1962? That's basically just a test of factual accuracy. And finally, the final 2 are ones where I suspect Google search will come out on top because one is for a product or service and the other is for information that came out after 2021. So let's jump right into it with the bank stock question. So for the first question, what is the average US bank stock PE ratio? In Google, we get the first result, US Bancorp PE ratio, wrong. Google search misinterpreted my query by showing that. Y charts, US Bancorp PE ratio, wrong. Google search has misinterpreted my query again. Again, Y charts, this time with Bank of America PE ratio, again, misinterpreting my query. Finally, Investopedia, the number 4 result, interprets my query correctly. It says that the average PE ratio of major banks is 8.46. So it takes 4 results to get to a Google search result that interprets my question correctly. Now let's try it with ChatGPT. We see it typing out a question here, but basically ChatGPT is saying that it doesn't know the average US bank stock PE ratio. So because Google search at least gave the correct answer 4 results deep, or at least an answer that understood what I was asking, I'm going to give this round to Google. Now, what is the average height of a US male? Let's try that first in Google. About 5 feet 9 inches tall, and in ChatGPT. The exact same answers, so I will call this round a tie. Now, let's go to, what was the #1 rock song in 1962? This is a test of how well each one is able to retrieve very old information. Google search, first result is Chubby Checker, The Twist. Now, I'm not going to go looking further down in the results for this one because I'm not actually testing accuracy here, just whether it was able to understand my question, and Google search was, in this case, able to understand my question. Now, Let's try the same thing in ChatGPT. ChatGPT does understand my question, and it gets a different answer than Google search did. So in terms of intentionality, ability to understand the search query, Google and ChatGPT get a tie here. However, they provide different answers, so it's going to be really interesting to see afterward who was correct. Now, on to the next test, which is who is the best lawyer in New York City? Google starts with a bunch of ads. They're going to go down to the search results, the organic results. It provides a site giving us best lawyers. And does it at any point tell us an opinion of who the best lawyer is? No, it does not give an opinion on who the best lawyer in New York City is. So I'm going to say that Google search did not understand my question here. I was looking for a link that would simply declare someone's opinion, whether it's right or not, that on what the best lawyer in New York City is. Now let's try ChatGPT. And it's saying basically it's not appropriate for me to make a recommendation. And between these two, neither one quite gave me what I wanted. However, I'm going to give this round to Google just because it did give information that I could use to get the answer I wanted, whereas ChatGPT is basically throwing its hands up in the air and admitting defeat. So I'm going to give round 4 to Google. And finally, round number 5. Which iPhone model has Dynamic Island? This is a test of the ability to retrieve current information, and the answer being sought is the iPhone 14 Pro. Boom, Google gets it right away. Now let's try ChatGPT. I'm sorry, this is what ChatGPT does when it's about to not be able to give you the answer. So this round, it's no question goes to Google. So as far as current information having to do with products goes, Google wins over ChatGPT. So there you have it. On our series of 5 test questions for both Google and ChatGPT, we have so far 3 wins for Google, which is questions 1, 4, and 5. 1 tie, and finally that one question that I had to research a little further to see who actually got the correct answer to. What was the right answer to that one? Well, according to a totally different source, Wikipedia, which did not show up in the Google search for that question, the correct answer is actually Elvis Presley's Return to Sender. That, according to Wikipedia, is the #1 rock song in 1962. For that reason, I'm going to call the #1 rock song in 1962 test a tie. Both Google and ChatGPT understood what I was asking, but neither one got the correct answer as claimed by a third-party source of information. And there you have it. Those are the results of my test for information accuracy and intent understanding between Google and ChatGPT. They were both pretty good at understanding my intent most of the time, but in terms of actually retrieving answers, it's no contest. Google comes out with 3 wins, ChatGPT comes out with none, and there were 2 ties. Honestly, I was a little surprised with the results of this test, given how many people on Twitter were saying that ChatGPT was just smacking the hell out of Google. I figured that ChatGPT would be at least more accurate or more able to understand my search intent sometimes, but after 5 test questions, I found that Google search actually came out on top more often than not. That's just my take on it. Other people might find different results with different questions. For example, a lot of the people claiming that ChatGPT was beating Google search were programmers asking programming questions. I didn't do a programming test, so maybe that's part of why I got the results that I did. But the results are what they are. It looks like Google search wins so far, and Google will not be going out of business. That's it for me today. Happy saving.